Welcome to Session Sunday. Hi guys, it's Jack Edwards and today's session is going to be focusing on attacking. But before we get into today's session, make sure to give us a like and subscribe, and if you missed last week's session, click on the link above. This week's session will be split into 3 parts, all focusing on attacking. So let's get into it. Okay, so now moving into the first part of this week's session, we're going to be looking at 1v1s and 2v2s. But before we start, we're working with 13 players this week, including a goalkeeper. If you don't have a goalkeeper, just try and adapt, and maybe if you work with a younger age group, put an appearance in goal, or if you have 2 coaches, one of the coaches goes in goal, or the players can even take turns themselves. But preferably we do need a goalkeeper for this session. If you can't find a goalkeeper, you can maybe put areas in the net for the players to aim at, so you could put cones in between the corners for maybe 2 or 3 points. If you have hoops, you could stick them in the top corners to get maybe 5 points for scoring instead, just so it's still realistic for the players. So if there's no goalkeeper in goal, they can just pass it easily into an open net, which they won't be able to do over the weekend. Okay, so moving into the setup for the first part of the session, all we need is 8 cones, 4 for each side. Preferably we want different colour cones. The 2 middle cones on each side, they can be the same, but the 2 wider cones need to be different colours because we're going to be shouting out the instructions for the players. So how it starts, we're going to split the outfield players into 2 groups of 6, and we'll start with 1 player each on the starting cone. Coach will shout go, and then the players instantly run straight forward to the cone in front. As they're approaching the cone, you will say a colour. So if you've got green cones here and orange cones here on the outside and you shout green, the player's got to quickly change direction and get inside. The player who gets to the cone first gets the ball. So if the blue player gets there before the red, the coach will play into the player in the blue. Their goal then is to drive at goal and look to finish, and the player who doesn't have the ball, so the red in this occasion, is trying to work back to win the ball. If they win the ball, they can score until the ball's gone out of play or it's gone too far wide for a 1v1 situation. So they're trying to stop the Blues from scoring, or if they can, win it back and try and score themselves. So it's a nice quick scenario. There can be a little transition there as well. So we're looking at the players to be confident and clinical in front of goal, showing a lot of speed to drive at the goalkeeper quickly, because the goalkeeper's going to make a decision themselves whether to come out, whether to stay, to put the attacker under pressure or not. As soon as they've had their go, the next 2 players will instantly come up. The 2 players who have to go will come around the outside. Next 2 players go again. Same thing, ball starts with the coach, so we want a bag of footballs, 5 or 6 minimum balls really, because you can just keep going and going and everyone can have a go before we have to stop and get the balls back in. Or what you can do is, every time that there's been a go, the players who've just been, whoever scored or whoever missed, gets the ball and brings it back and just puts it next to the coach. So like we say again, the 2 players will run. You might say the other colour this time, so you've got to get around that cone, so it's timing the runs a little bit more now. So you're not just going to stand there, run there and stop. So what we want to see from the players is, when they're making them runs, can they make it to receive the ball? So if they're coming inside, can they get in and around the shoulder of the defender? And then if they're going to the outside cone, can they get around the defender and then in? So then the coach can play a through ball in. So it's not just run to the cone, it's can we think about our movement towards the cone as well. We will now move into our first animation before moving on to the progression. Okay, so now moving into the progression for this part of the session, we're going to be looking at 2v2 situations now. So once the first players go, and then the coach says a cone, so you might say green and you go inside, and then the coach plays through. As soon as they've started making their run, the next 2 players get ready, and then as soon as that ball's been played in, the next 2 go. The coach might say the opposite colour, so let's say orange, and they go around, and then the coach will play through again. And then the next player after that will wait for this 2v2 scenario to finish, but that next player will get ready to go. So the players are getting a lot more repetitions this time. It's a lot quicker. But what can happen is both players can get the ball, or one player might get the ball from each team, or neither of you might. So it's that transition of, am I going to be attacking? Am I going to be defending? Am I going to be doing both? Because if the Blues get it on the first ball and then the Reds get it, can the Blue look to score quickly, and then can he help his teammates out, win the ball back and score another goal? And then if both players got the ball, how can I help my teammate out with my run with the ball? So there's got to be a lot of concentration, a lot of good decision making, and being clinical in the final third as well. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to the next part of this week's session. Okay, so now moving into part 2 of this week's session, we're moving into a more small-sided game scenario, but with 3 teams. So you're going to split your group into 3 teams. If you've got 12 players, like we do here, it'll be 3 groups of 4. If you've got 15 players, it'll be 3 groups of 5. If you've got less players, it might even be, if you've got 10 players overall with your goalkeeper, 3 teams of 3. So judge the size of the area of what you're going to use based on how many players you've got. What we have here is 7 yards either side of the goal, so 14 yards plus the width of the goal, so we're looking nearly 20 yards of width, and then the 18-yard box, so 18 yards of depth. We want it small and we want it tight with the intensities high because we want to see lots of goals. The ball's going to be bouncing around quite a lot, so we want to see finishes. We're working on attack and we want to see goals. We don't want to see players dribbling in and around the box. It's going to be short, sharp, if there is going to be passes, 1-2s to finish. So each player on the outside will have a ball themselves to use once somebody's scored. They leave it just to the side of them just because when the ball is actually in play, the players who are in possession can use these players to bounce the ball off. The ball will begin with the coach. So we've got our scenario in here. These players can't come outside the box. It's as simple as that, really. If they score a goal, that team receives the ball again. If the keeper saves it and it goes out, or they put it wide, then the other team gets the ball. So we're trying to be quite harsh. We're trying to make them finish with the reward of still getting the ball. We're playing for 2 minutes, and whoever scored the most goals stays on. So it's intense. All you could do as soon as all the balls have gone. So if you've got 4 balls with the players on the outside, and the coach has got 4 balls as well, so you're playing for 8 footballs. So you could play coach plays in, and then a player plays in, and then coach plays in, and then a player plays in, and then the players know how many balls are left, how many goals that they need maybe to win. But it's all about transitions. So the Blues might have the ball and they shoot and it gets rebounded and the Reds instantly finish. So we're working on our finishing and our composure inside the box. And then it's that reaction of, oh, we've just conceded. Don't let it concede again, because once the heads go down or players start rolling their eyes and you just lose concentration, you might find yourself another goal down or another 2 goals down. So it's reacting and positioning yourself to receive the ball quickly, trying to score, and then when you win it back, nice quick transitions to score quickly as well. It's great for attackers who are working on in the box finishing, so a poacher, a bit like a Jermaine Defoe type player in the past, and then also good for your centre midfielders who are feeding off the scraps, and then your centre backs maybe coming up from corners and the ball bounces in the box and they're trying to finish. So we're working on everything that you might see on a Saturday in a game. So like we say, the ball might go into the Blues, they might bounce it out to the Greens. The Greens can keep the ball themselves, but only for 2 passes, so it can be into another green and then back in. So we're looking to maybe play in nice and quick and then finish. And then as soon as that happens, the player outside here might play straight into the Blues. It's nice 1 or 2 touch passing. They open a gap again and then they score again. So they're 2-0 up in 2 attacks and then they're getting the ball again. So it is intense. So we don't want to go for any more than 2 minutes because the players cannot keep that intensity level up for that long. It's too hard. We want them to be able to work at that pace and not slow down. So the 8 balls or the 2-minute rule is perfect for the game. We will now move into the next animation before moving on to the 4-corner model for this week's session. Okay, so moving into this week's 4-corner model, starting off with technical and tactical, we're looking to penetrate the opposition. So when we're in the final third, we're looking to score quickly, we're looking to hurt the opposition by scoring goals, being clinical, being decisive, and not giving the opposition any chance to transition. Supporting our players, so when our teammates got the ball, make sure we're providing options, even if it's just off the ball runs to create space to run inside, or even an underlap so the player can go outside as well, and then having options to come backwards, to maybe pull the opposition out to create space inside the pitch. Improvisation and creativity. This is a big one, especially in the final third. This is the area of the pitch which we are giving players the most freedom. Tell them you are a good footballer, be creative, use your technical ability to score a goal. Whether it's to take 2 men on and put it in the bottom corner, or you play a 1-2 and then finish first time, or it's a through ball for the striker to finish. You can't be telling players to, in the final third, be following instructions of this is where we've got to pass, this is where we've got to move. In the final third, it's about improvising, it's about being creative, it's about using the space around you to the best of your ability. In the small side of the game, which we've got now, we're going to be looking obviously at height, width and depth, which we always need when attacking. We need our width so that we've got options out wide. We need our height and our depth so we've got space in the middle of the pitch as well, so we can always recycle the ball and we've always got an option up top. And then the final two are protecting the ball. So when we're in possession, make sure we're securing the ball, especially after transition. And obviously, when we've got the ball, making it hard for the defenders to win it back by shielding the ball. So moving into the psychological corner for this week's 4-corner model, looking at decision making to start off with. So being confident to take risks in the final third, to take that man on, to cut inside and put it into the bottom corner. So recognising the space around you, recognising the runs around you. How can we create space in that final third? How can we score quickly? Self-confidence and belief. So in that final third, people have got to be a little bit selfish. People have got to bite the bullet and have a shot, otherwise we'll never score. So believing in yourself to take the man to the line and maybe pull the ball back for somebody to finish. Hitting the ball first time when it's dropping on the volley. Because if you don't do it, then you won't do it on a Saturday or a Sunday whenever you play anyway. So it's giving the players that encouragement to take shots as well. Composure in the final third, not snapping at shots, making sure that you're timing things right. So, but then if you do one wrong and then you recognise what you did wrong, then you can work on your technique and make it better for the next opportunity. And then finally, awareness, so spatial and positional awareness. So the drill that we've just done there, it is quite tight in there, so you've got to recognise your space, you've got to recognise your body position. So if you're going to be receiving with your back to goal, how can I protect the ball? How can I turn quickly to maybe get a shot off? If I'm facing one way, what options have I got to play to? And then obviously positional awareness, when you haven't got the ball, kind of make it hard for the opposition to score. Into the physical side of the game, so a lot of focus on speed this week, both with and without the ball. Speed to make runs in behind, speed to make runs maybe in behind and then drop back in, so double movements. Speed with the ball to drive at the opposition, to make them pedal back and give you more space and time to finish. And then elusiveness, so making sure that we're bursting into our speed quickly. So the ABCs of agility, balance and coordination, being able to change direction quickly. If players are trying to put physical pressure on you by pushing and shoulder barging, making sure that we can still keep the ball in them difficult situations. And then finally on the social corner, encouraging your teammates to be confident. So encouraging your teammates to take a shot. If they have a shot and they miss, making sure that they know that, the teammates have recognised that, they have tried to score for the team. The goalkeeper saved it, or it's just gone wide, or it's hit the post. But sometimes players' confidence might go down if they do miss, and it might be a player who is quite shy and, doesn't really take a shot in them scenarios. So, but we know that he's got the ability to do it. So we're trying to encourage that player to do it more often. Because obviously if they don't do it in training, then they're not going to do it on a Saturday as well. So communicating as well is massive again this week with runs and timing. So if you're making a run over the top, but you're going to come back and receive it, you can tell your player, hold the ball and then ask for it. Or if you're going to ask for it over the top, even things like pointing, and just timing your runs as well, so that you know when the player's got their head up, that's when to go. So telling the right winger, when I get my head up, that's when you make your run. Don't make your run before I've touched the ball, because I'm not going to see you. You're going to go too early. The fullback's going to recognise it. Okay, so moving into the final drill of this week's session, we're now moving into a small side of game scenario, a 6v6 with a goalkeeper. So the team that's defending has got the goalkeeper. So the way we've got it set up, we've got two zones right now. We've got from the goal line to the offside line is going to be 20 yards of depth. And then from the offside line to the dribble line is 25 yards of depth. And then we've got 5 yards for the dribble zone. And then we've got 30 yards of width throughout the whole part of this session. So the aim is for the attacking team, starting off with the Reds, is to try and get in behind the Blues and trying to score. So the offside line is basically where the Blues don't really want to drop below. We're trying to get them to stay high so we can try and encourage runs in behind. But again, it's that timing of the runs, so the communication comes into it as well. You might take a man or a player into by the offside line just to create space for somebody else, make the Blues drop a little bit, and then try and pull them out. So there's got to be lots of movements, lots of communication. And then when we're in that final third, that's when we penetrate the opposition quickly. That's when we're clinical. That's when we try and score. So that's where the composure's got to come in, because we're not going to get as many attacking scenarios as what we would in the previous drill. So the aim for the Blues is when they win the ball back, can they create openings to then play through and then dribble across the dribble zone? When that happens, we transition straight away So then the Reds become defenders. So to get out of being defenders, you've got to dribble past the zone. So instantly the Blues' thoughts are, oh, we're going to attack now. So can they get themselves a front three? Or if they want a front two with two in behind, that's fine, but we're trying to look at a front three. And then can they get their attacking midfielders ready to attack, so then that player can bring it out of the zone, and then the Reds have got to set up to try and stop them. So the Reds might think, can we press first off? Can we go and press the ball? Or are we going to drop in, get our shape first and then look to press? Or like we say, they might come up with a 3 and a 3 in behind, depending on how the Blues set up. So they've got to see quickly, can we prevent space for them? But then obviously with the transitions, what we're looking at is, can we attack quickly? So if the Reds are out of shape, can we play through to our players, come in and try and score as quick as we can? And then when we score, we get the ball again. So every time that the ball does go out behind the goal, or it is a goal, it'll start again with the coach. When the ball goes out to the side, we're looking just to throw it back in. So creating scenarios of transition there as well with the throw-ins. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to the progression. So this week's session is obviously an attack and theme session. Teams like Bayern Munich and Real Madrid attacking this sort of way, so using the pace out wide with the one striker in the middle looking to get over the top, and obviously support from out wide with their fullbacks, and then the midfielders being creative and technical based midfielders, but also having a player deep lying who is physical as well. So if you look at Bayern Munich with Javi Martinez, and then with Real Madrid with Casemiro as well, they've got that player who can win the ball back on transition, and then they've got their technical players like Modric, like Kroos, like Isco. And then with Bayern Munich, we've got Thiago, we've got Coutinho, and then out wide, you've got Gnabry, you've got Koeman as well. And then obviously you've got the attacking fullback now of Alphonso Davies, David Alaba as well, Kimmich on the right side who likes to get forward. And then with Real Madrid, we've got Marcelo and Dani Carvajal, who we've seen for years exploit teams down those down that left and right hand side. So for the progression for this part of the session, we've just took out the offside line, so players can be offside anywhere now. So we're trying to encourage the Blues to maybe step up a little bit more and cast the team offside. Or are they going to drop in deep and make it difficult for the Reds to create space? So it's encouraging a lot more movement, a lot better timing of the runs as well. So when they step up, can the Reds then, if the Blues step up a little bit, can the wingers provide double movements? So maybe they might want to come inside to then go around, or they might go high to drop in deep, and vice versa. They might drop in deep to then go high. So they've got to be clever. It's not going to come to them easy, but then they'll get the reward when they get in the final third. We've got to penetrate and score as quick as we can. Same rule applies with the dribbling zone. So when a player dribbles across here, instantly transition. So that's where we're going to hopefully get a lot of success on both sides with the Blues and the Reds. Obviously, when a player dribbles in here, can the Reds win the ball back quickly? Can we transition quickly? And then can the Blues be out of position? So it's creating as many scenarios as we can. You could maybe put a scenario in the game where each team has a go at being the attacking team for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, and each team has a go at being the defending team. The defending team might start 1-0 up, and every time they dribble past the zone, they get a goal. So the Reds are looking to break them down and win the game, and the Blues are looking to, what can we do? Do we either go for more goals or do we sit back? So it's getting both sides of the game, both the attacking and defensive side of the game in this part, and transitions as well. So making sure that we're always putting across the right messages to the players, always encouraging them, always praising them to obviously be confident and take risks, because in the final third they need to take risks in order to score. We will now move into our final animation before concluding this week's session. Thanks for watching this week's session. For more content, follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. The links will be in the description below, and we'll see you next week for another Session Sunday.